Hi, everybody, and happy Canada's Agriculture Day. We're very happy that you're joining us today for our tour. My name is Penny Eaton, and I'm with Farm and Food Care Saskatchewan. Farm and Food Care is a group that works to answer consumer questions about farming and food. And there's 3 Farm and Food Cares in Canada, in Prince Edward Island, and Ontario, and in Saskatchewan. And each of us have hosted tours today in celebration of Canada's Agriculture Day. So we are very excited to have with us in Saskatchewan, Sarah Heppner. And Sarah is going to run us through a tour of a typical barn here in Saskatchewan and then answer your questions. So as you watch the video, make sure you write down your questions so that you are ready to ask Sarah. Take it away, Sarah.
Hi, Penny. Thank you. So, hi, I'm Sarah Heppner, and today I'll be talking to you about raising pigs and pork production here in Saskatchewan and the rest of Canada. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised on a mixed farm in north central Saskatchewan where we raised livestock, mostly cattle, and grew grain and forage crops as well. After high school, I went to the University of Saskatchewan and attained my Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, majoring in the animal sciences. And since then, I've been working with a company, and what we do is we provide pig breeding stock, and we provide pig breeding stock to pork producers around Canada, around the USA, and now even into Mexico and China. So what that means is we have pig farms ourselves. And through that, working with this company, I've been able to work in those pig farms and other areas of pork production. And that's really what I'll be talking about today, is how we raise pigs and pork production here in Canada. Before we start the video, I just wanted to thank SaskPork for providing the walkthrough video today. It's a really great representation of what pork production looks like here in Canada and across the rest of North America. With that, Angela, I think we can start the video. So here you're looking at a typical pig farm from the outside. You will see sometimes 1, 2, or 3 barns here connected together, as well as sometimes a feed mill, which is what you see in the right-hand side of the video with those augers and bins that will automatically dispense feed to all the pigs throughout the farm in each of those farms in each of the stages of their life. Where really pork production starts is in the breeding barn. This is where life begins. It's in a pregnant mother pig, which is what we call a sow. Here, sows will be pregnant for about 115 days, and they will be housed together here in Canada in all modern farms. You'll see that the setup of these farms is different from what old farms is. You'll see that there's gates and then what we call electronic sow feeders now. These electronic sow feeders have the ability to recognize individual pigs when they go up to the feeder and understand how many times they've eaten that day, how much they've eaten, and then at what stage of pregnancy they're at, so that it's able to dispense the right amounts of food and nutrients for that pig to ensure that her and the growing piglets inside of her are getting the nutrients that they need. You will notice, that they're housed in groups here, and that allows them to exhibit more of their natural behaviors. They're able to socialize, interact, sleep with each other. And what you'll notice, too, in the structure of this area of the farm is that there's a lot of walls that allow pigs to exhibit more of their natural behaviors, because pigs actually like to sleep with a wall to their back. It makes them feel safe and it makes them feel secure. So you'll see that in a lot of these barn designs, is that these pigs will be sleeping up against walls, and that really allows them to exhibit more of their natural behavior. What you're seeing here is pigs walking through some of these gates that help manage the flow of pigs through these electronic sow feeders. It's very similar to what you see in a robotic milking system in a dairy farm, where it really just manages the flows of the number of pigs that can go up to feeders. It minimizes competition, and it really just allows them to exhibit more of their natural behaviors, like you see here, sleeping along these walls, walking through the farm, mingling with the other mother pigs that are on the farm. It's a really great representation of what we see in a modern gestation farm here in Canada. After the 115 days of being pregnant, a sow will then move to the farrowing room, which is really the maternity ward of the farm. Here, a sow will have anywhere between 10 and 20 piglets, on average 15 here in Canada. You'll see as these piglets are being born, a farrowing tech will kind of dry them off to ensure that these piglets aren't chilled when they're coming out of their mother. And then he'll set them beside the mother's udder, ensuring that they get that first milk or colostrum that is full of those really essential nutrients that all mammals need at the beginning of their life. You'll also see the farrowing tech administering some vitamins and supplements, some of their first vaccinations to ensure that the pigs have a really great start at life with all the nutrients that they need. Some things you'll note about the structure of the area of this farm is that there's these lamps, these red lamps in each of the pens. What that does is help promote piglets sleeping away from underneath their mother. What happens is these really big mother sows are between 300 and 500 pounds, and they tend to lay down really quick and really hard. And sometimes that will actually crush the piglets. So these lamps will help promote the piglets sleeping in an area from underneath their mom. You will also see these stalls that the sows are in. These also help to slow down how quickly she lays down. It kind of forces her to kind of scoot down instead of laying down quickly. That gives piglets the ability to get out from underneath their mom. Piglets will spend 21 days there, and then they will move into the nursery area of the farm, which is what we see here. You'll see piglets housed in groups here, really learning how to socialize with other piglets. Their digestive systems have developed enough here where they don't need their mom, and they're really learning how to eat solid food and drink water from a waterer. Piglets, the room here, like I said, they're housed in a group. They're learning how to socialize. This room is also typically pretty warm, between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius. So then those piglets don't have to worry about becoming chilled and getting sick. It's just a really nice, good environment for them to learn how to be pigs, living with other pigs in a really nice environment. Very cute. So after 7 to 8 weeks of being in the nursery farm, they will move to the finishing barn. Here, piglets will become adults, basically. So they will spend 16 to 18 weeks here in the finishing barn. This is where pigs will eventually reach sexual maturity at about 180 days of age. At this point, they're about 280 pounds. And once they reach that 280-pound mark, this is when a truck will come to the farm, pick up the pigs, and bring them to a processing facility where pigs turn into pork. Some things you will notice about this area of the barn is that metal apparatus hanging in the middle from a chain. This is a form of what we call enrichment, which helps give the pigs something to do during the day, something to play with. It's really a toy, and it helps them exhibit more of their natural behavior. You'll also notice that they're housed in a group, which allows them to socialize. Some really great technology on the farm outside of the electronic sow feeders are water monitoring consumption systems, automated feeding systems. There are systems that always monitor the temperature, the ventilation, the air quality, and any gases that might be in the farm. And if it's outside of a safe range, these monitoring systems will be able to notify the farmer on their phone what's going on in each of these individual rooms. And if it's outside of that normal range, the farmer knows exactly where to go and what to do when they get there so that we can ensure the health and safety and welfare of the pigs on the farm. And that is a really quick run through of the inside of a pig farm. With that, Penny, I think, do we have any questions?
That was great, Sarah. It was great for you to walk us through an actual pig farm. So interesting to see all the technology that they're using.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, it is the school break here in Saskatchewan, but we took the time to ask some of the kids we know for some questions. So we have sort of a combination of questions that are coming in from online, as well as some that we had collected beforehand. But the one that I wanted to start off with is, why are pigs raised in a barn? Don't they want to go outside?
That's a great question. And we get this all of the time. So there are a couple reasons for this. The first is, if you aren't out in Saskatchewan today, I'll let you know that we're under an extreme cold warning today. So it's really cold outside. It's minus 32 before the wind chill. I know if I was working outside today, it would take a lot for me to be able to stay warm and not get sick. So that's one of the main reasons here in North America and really across the Northern Hemisphere that most pigs are housed inside, so that we can control that environment so that the pigs are in a nice, warm, cozy place throughout the winter, and then also an air-conditioned place throughout the summer when it gets too hot. So that's one part of it. The second is we want to be able to control any of the diseases or viruses that could get our pigs sick or that could potentially even kill them. So what we do is there's a term called biosecurity in the livestock production. And what that term does is it describes what farmers with livestock do in order to protect their pigs or cows or chickens or anything from the diseases and viruses that are out in the environment. So pigs, well, what's the difference between pigs and cows then? Because how come cows get to live outside but pigs don't?
Yeah.
It really has to do with the diseases and viruses that live in the environment and the wildlife outside of where you are. So when you look at the cattle, there aren't really any wildlife species that have the ability to pass on diseases to them that would harm them. Like the closest species you could look at would be bison maybe, but there really isn't any wild bison population left in North America. Where pigs, however, there's a really large wild pig population in North America. And because they are so closely related to domestic pigs, they have the ability to pass on diseases and viruses to pigs easily. So the problem is because we have such a large wild pig population that has all these diseases that we don't want our domestic pigs to have, we control that through putting these pigs inside so that we can separate them from those outdoor pigs. I'm not sure if anyone on here has heard of African swine fever. It's a really big, nasty disease going around in Europe and Asia right now. And they're having an issue with it because it came from the wild pig population. And unfortunately, there's no vaccine and there's no prevention you can have for it. And there's no treatment. And it has a 100% mortality rate in the domestic pigs. So it's a really big issue. And if you get it into your farm, it's a really sad situation. So we try to control that by keeping our pigs inside and away from those harmful diseases that the wild pig populations have.
Sure. Yeah. Well, makes sense. You want to control the environment so that they're healthy.
Exactly. We want our pigs to be healthy and safe. And yeah, we just like their health is the utmost importance to us.
Well, here is one of the questions from the kids that we surveyed. The question is, why are pigs pink?
Great question. So quick answer is not all pigs are pink, actually. There are brown pigs, there are black pigs, there are spotted pigs. The color of the pig really has to do with the breed of pig. So you can compare it to all the different breeds of dogs, right? They don't all look the same. They're not all the same color. Pigs are the same. However, in North America, majority of pigs are pink because this breed of pig that we use here has specific qualities and characteristics that are really efficient and sustainable for North American pig production. So they have the ability to have a lot of pigs and take care of a lot of pigs, and they grow really efficiently. They don't use as many resources, and they're actually more sustainable than a lot of other types of pig breeds. So that's why they are the main type of pig that you see is the pink ones here in North America.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the questions from our viewers is, what are the red markings that were on the pigs in the video?
Good question. So the piglets, as the farrowing technician was sort of treating those piglets, he was kind of putting a red marker or a purple marker on there. What that does is just identify so we know which pigs have been treated. When you have a full pen of pigs in there, it's kind of, if you weren't marking which ones were treated, they kind of all mix in together and they look the same. So it really just helps us identify which pigs have been treated, have gotten their supplements, that sort of thing. We can also use it to identify pigs that we think maybe are going to be sick. So that day you would mark them and the next day go check on them to see how they are. So it's really just a form of identification so we can keep track of pigs.
Makes sense. Yeah. Question from Josh. What do pigs eat?
Good question. So pigs actually will pretty much eat anything. They are like people. They have a similar digestive system to us. So they have the ability to really eat anything. But here in Canada, what we feed them, it depends on where you are. So we like to feed pigs locally sourced ingredients. So out here in Western Canada, a lot of the things that we grow here are barley, wheat, canola. So those sorts of things will make up the majority of the diet here in Western Canada. But when you move out to Eastern Canada, where they grow a lot of corn and soy, those ingredients will make up more of the diet. So because pigs can pretty much eat anything, it really just depends on where you live in the country or even the world on what they'll be eating.
Right. Makes sense. We're not the only ones eating locally.
Exactly. Pigs were the original local eaters.
That's right. A question from Pete. He says, I've heard that some farmers play music to their pigs. Is that true?
So yes, that is true. There's actually some research, not only in the pig industry, but I think also the dairy industry as well as the poultry industry, in that playing different types of music helps the animals potentially be more relaxed and even produce more efficiently. I kind of like to compare it to sometimes when I'm sitting at my desk working, I'll put in my earbuds and listen to some music in the background, and it helps me relax and focus a little bit more. But yeah, there's definitely research and some people do it. And it's somewhat common in the industry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Ella from Kenaston, and she's 11 years old, and she says, did you say that a litter of pigs is about 15 piglets? How often does a mama pig have a litter?
Good question. Yeah. So I would say the average here in Canada and the USA as well is a sow will have about 15 piglets per litter. And typically, because their gestation or pregnancy length is about 115 days, a pig will have about 2 to 2.5 litters per year. So a pig can be producing upwards of 30 to 35 pigs per year, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of
pretty crazy. Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah. Another question for you. What do farmers do with all the pig manure?
Good question. So pig manure is actually an incredible renewable resource. So right now, majority, I would say in Canada, of pig farmers, what they do is when pigs go poop, the manure will fall below the farm. There's kind of slots in the floor where the pigs are, and it'll fall below the farm into what we call a pit. The pit will then be pumped out from underneath the farm into a lagoon beside the farm. This lagoon will house the manure for somewhere between 6 months and a year. And then in the summer, it will be pumped out onto the land around the pig farm. So grain farms, grain land. And basically what it is actually an incredible natural fertilizer that we use on grain land. Sometimes the lagoon will also be covered with a tarp, and this is what we call a biodigester. Happens more in the US where it's warmer. And what this biodigester does is it's able to trap any of the gases that may come from the digestion of the manure, and it'll turn it into natural gas, and it's actually able to be used to heat the farm or even used to fuel vehicles. And then it'll actually filter some of the water out of the manure, and they'll use it back in the farm. And then the solids will be used as fertilizer on land. So it's actually an incredible renewable resource that we have. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Used to create feed as well as fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm wondering, is the way that pigs are raised in Saskatchewan very different from how they are in other provinces?
I would say no, for the most part. Most pig farms look exactly the same as what the one we viewed today here in Saskatchewan. The main differences you would maybe see are the size of farms. Typically in Western Canada, the size of farms are a little bit bigger than Eastern Canada. And then also the main differences would probably be the feed that you feed them. Like we said, in different areas of Canada, there's different feed sources. But other than that, most farms would look pretty much the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. When all those pigs are living together, there must be times when they get sick. Like, how do you prevent all the pigs from getting sick? And what do you do when one does get sick?
Good question. So, like most and all livestock, farmers will go through their farm every single day and look at all of the pigs. They're monitoring them for things like that for health. I know when I get sick, I kind of look crappy. I don't really eat. I don't go to the water. I kind of just stay in one place in my house. Pigs will do the same thing. It's pretty easy to point out a pig that's not feeling well. They'll kind of be in the corner, standing by themselves, not eating or not going to the water. So what happens is a farmer will then bring the pig out of the pen into kind of a hospital pen or room where other pigs that maybe don't feel well are. At that point, you will usually contact your veterinarian and try to figure out what the best point of action is to help that pig. So basically bring it to the hospital and bring in your pig doctor and make sure that you can help that pig get better. The pig industry does use vaccinations to help prevent any of the regular diseases that go through a population, similar to a flu vaccine that we all get every year. We do the same thing for our pigs as well. So those are some of the preventative measures that we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask this when I was asking about the different provinces. Which province in Canada raises the most pigs?
So as of right now, Manitoba produces the most pigs. However, Ontario and Quebec are very close behind it. So those three provinces produce about 2/3 of all the pigs in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a question that one of our kids asked. Is it hard being a farmer? So I'm not sure if they mean farmer or pig farmer. But.
I think it applies to all farmers likely. That's a great question. Short answer is definitely. I would say being a farmer is a hard lifestyle choice. And I say lifestyle choice because being a farmer is not a career or a job. It's your entire life. But I would say all farmers would say it's 100% worth it. When I think of pig farmers specifically, you're in charge of lives, right? You're taking care of, you see these pigs being born, you're in charge of growing them. You're in charge of seeing them mature and keeping them healthy. And I think that's incredibly rewarding, and especially family farms where you get to bring your kids into that sort of life. I grew up on a cattle farm, so being able to see that life cycle is incredibly rewarding, no matter how much work it is, because it's a 24/7, 365-day job, not job, lifestyle, but
Right.
Exactly. So I would say, yes, it's hard, but it's 100% worth it.
I think lots of farmers would agree with you.
I think so too.
A question from Facebook from Barb. Did you say that workers have to shower before they go into the pig barn? I thought pigs were messy. Wouldn't you need to shower after?
Good question. So the showering in has to do with that biosecurity word we were talking about earlier in the presentation. So one tool we use to help ensure the biosecurity of our farms is that all people going into pig farms need to shower in. So basically you'll go into the barn and there'll be a porch area where you'll get undressed, and then you'll shower through, everything needs to be cleaned. And then on the other side of the shower, you will get dressed. The reason we do this is to ensure that we're not tracking in any diseases. Some viruses and diseases can be tracked on as little as a particle of dust that's sitting in your hair, and that alone can bring a disease into your farm. So it's really important that this is a really important tool that we use in the pork industry, is that everyone going into a farm will shower, and then everyone will typically shower out as well. And yes, pigs are messy, but so are we. But this is just as a tool to make sure that we keep the pigs as healthy and safe as possible.
And so would all farms, would that be what farmers are doing?
I would say 90% of farms do this, especially in areas like in Saskatchewan. We are lucky there aren't as many pig farms, but when you go into areas of Canada like Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec, where they have a lot of pig farms, it's much more important because they're close together that you follow those biosecurity protocols. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. A question from Josh. Did you go to school to learn how to raise pigs?
Yeah, sort of. So my education was in animal science. So what that is the study of livestock production. I learned about the anatomy, the physiology, how to feed pigs, their genetics, and that's across all livestock. But then I also took a pig production class as well. So I would say, yes, I did go to school. Yes.
Okay. So then a question related to Canada's Ag Day, and that is, what do you like about being involved in agriculture?
That's a big question, but I guess I grew up in agriculture. I work in agriculture. My family is all involved in agriculture. It's really ingrained in who I am, and I think it's a great way to celebrate the people that are involved in it. It's not just farmers. There's a huge part of the agriculture industry that support farmers and ensure that they can do their jobs well as well. And I think celebrating all of those people is really important. And I think that's probably my favorite part, is celebrating all the work that goes on behind the scenes as well as at the farmers too.
That is awesome. Yeah, and on a day like this, it's the kind of thing that we want to ask people why they're involved and how they're involved. So we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Sarah. So
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Well, I just wanted to say before we let everybody go that happy Canada's Agriculture Day. Thanks for your questions. And it is our job at Farm and Food Care to answer questions. So we want you to check out other resources. So there are things like CanadianFoodFocus.org, RealDirtOnFarming.ca, and Farm Food 360. And all of those have some great resources if you want to learn more about farming or about Canadian food. And with that, I just want to say forks up for Canadian agriculture. And I hope everybody has a Canadian grown supper tonight. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.